Welcome to the post-lunch session. We have a very interesting, exciting panel discussion ahead of us. What we'll be discussing for the next 1 hour is a super fun and relevant topic, which is unlocking India's consumption in 2030. I'm your panel host, and I'm joined by 4 absolute rock stars. Our first rock star is, if you've taken a flight, walked through a college campus, or even looked on the metro lately, chances are that you will spot the boat logo somewhere. That is a brand our first panelist, Aman Gupta, has built. Along the way, he's also built a community of millions of loyal boat heads. Aman, welcome. Through Shark Tank India, Aman has also become a real champion of the startup ecosystem, backing founders, sharing actionable insights from his own journey, and actually helping normalize entrepreneurship as a real career path. And if that wasn't enough, Aman is now stepping back into the founder's seat once again with Offbeat Studios, embarking on one more entrepreneurial journey. So join me in welcoming India's favorite shark, Aman Gupta, to our panel discussion. Welcome, Aman. Well, some founders build companies, some founders build categories, and a few manage to change how millions of people experience something as personal as beauty. Our next panelist, Anurag Kedia, falls into that category. I should say our own Anurag Kedia falls into that category. Anurag has spent his career building consumer businesses that combine deep insight with great execution. Before Pilgrim, Anurag founded Four Fountain Spa that helps scale wellness experiences all over India. And with Pilgrim, he's taken on an even bigger mission. Whether it's Korean skincare rituals, French beauty ingredients, or Spanish hair care traditions, Anurag has brought global beauty cultures to Indian consumers. Please join me in welcoming Anurag Kedia, co-founder of Pilgrim. My next panelist is Chirag, Taneja, the co-founder and CEO of GoKwik, India's leading e-commerce enablement platform. Chirag has spent over a decade building and scaling businesses in the consumer internet and digital commerce ecosystem. He first founded Ketchup, a food discovery platform that was later acquired. He later joined Bombay Shaving Company, our own Bombay Shaving Company, as CRO, where he played a key role in scaling the brand's digital and D2C growth. In 2020, Chirag founded GoKwik with the vision of solving some of the most fundamental problems in online commerce, from checkout friction to failed delivery. Today, GoKwik powers over 10,000 plus brands and has raised over 68 million in funding, backed by some of India's global investors, including Peak 15, Matrix, and RTB Global. Chirag, big warm welcome to you. And last but not the least, please join me in welcoming Abhishek Bansal. Abhishek is the managing director and CEO of ShadowFax, India's leading on-demand tech logistics platform. Abhishek graduated from IIT Delhi in 2012 and has been conferred many awards, including Forbes Under 30, Entrepreneur 35 Under 35, IIT Gold Award, and the Hurun India 35 Under 35 Award as well. Prior to ShadowFax, Abhishek worked with Hey Group as a business consultant for 2 years. In addition to its core parcel and forward logistics services, ShadowFax also offers an extensive range of value-added solutions. Please join me in welcoming Abhishek Bansal of ShadowFax. Thank you very much. Welcome, gentlemen, and looking forward to our chat today. So one big headline that we've been talking about since the morning is that India will add over close to 1.5 trillion in consumption over the next 5 years. And that is around 300 billion every year. Because we believe that India's next decade is actually a demand expansion story, rising incomes, more consumers entering the formal economy. Aman, my first question is to you. As someone who has built one of India's most successful new age consumer brands, and will also now do the same in your 2.0 avatar with Offbeat, how do you think these next 5 years will be different from the last decade as far as Indian consumer behavior goes?
Yeah, so I, personally speaking, that I think consumers, you cannot predict more than 2 years anymore, right? I think, सच बता रहा हूँ. But हमने जब start कर रहे थे तो हमें नहीं पता था कि आज हम 3 साल पहले भी जब हम यहाँ पे बैठे होते थे तो आपको भी नहीं पता था कि क्विक कॉमर्स इतना बड़ा करेगा, right? कि 15 मिनट में डिलीवरी हो जाएगी, right? I think पहले होता था एक, you guys okay with a little bit of Hindi, right? Sorry.
Just 15 minutes, Abhishek differs and he says 10 minutes.
No, but that's true, right? People never, it's an impatient consumer today. And we used to, I remember when my mom used to ask me to get chips from market. तो मेरे को पीछे से थप्पड़ मारती थी, कहती थी जाके chips लेके आ. My elder one was born in an Amazon era, and my younger one is born in a Blinkit era, right? And now my elder one wanted a child, and we got her another younger one. My younger one wants one, and she says order from Blinkit, right? And I tell her everything is not on Blinkit. So the era is so impatient. The consumer has become more impatient from what we used to watch Doordarshan to now look at reels. Be like 10 seconds is now becoming 4 seconds, and so same way I think for all brands like ours. We took, as I was talking in the morning, Kawal ने बोला 5 brand 100 crore के बनेंगे.
Right.
आजकल आप एक साल में 100 crore नहीं बनाते, so maybe you're doing something wrong, right? So if your brand is not doing, look at how Vimar's has done. Like Pilgrim also took some years to come to where it is, right? Mamaearth also took like few years. We took a few years. Now 1 year 100 crores has become like a normal thing. Consumers are, Indian consumers. There is a movie which is called Dil Chahta Hai, right? That's the last thing before I hand over, otherwise मैं आधा घंटा बोल सकता हूँ. So there is a movie called Dil Chahta Hai, and there is a dialogue where it says that आज पूजा कल कोई दूजा, right? And to brand context, Indian consumers I think are the most flirtatious consumers, right? And they are becoming even more flirtatious as the day goes, right? Today, yesterday the same consumer was buying Mamaearth, and today the same consumer is probably buying a Pilgrim, and tomorrow it might buy an Indie Wild or something else, or So I think brands who don't sustain themselves for more than who don't do different things, change with the consumer. Because the consumer is changing faster than the brands, and if the brands don't change, they'll die. So that's what I feel, that that's what is the real thing happening in our industry.
So Anurag, next question for you. Growing up, we were taught that one very integral part of brand building is this IDA model, right? There's attention, there's interest, there's desire, and there's action, right? So I'm sure this is first principles. It's fairly intuitive. But again, looking forward into the next 5 years, when you see how consumers are changing, how do you think brands should think differently about this IDA model?
So one thing, Adarsh, I think is that the fundamental consumer journey has changed. Earlier, the consumer journey was a lot more simpler. Brands would go on a mass media platform like television, give out a message, and then choose to buy, and the consumer may choose to buy or not buy, depending upon whether the message resonated with me or not as a consumer. However, today it's that consumer journey, and you can go on Google Analytics and check. It's showing multiple steps. 20, 25 steps are very normal, what we are able to track. What we are not able to track is much beyond this. So consumer is discovering something from somewhere. They could have discovered an ingredient. Then they are going and researching on that ingredient on today ChatGPT. 1 year back I would have said YouTube or some other platform. Then they are going on Amazon looking for those kind of, let's say, serums if it's a vitamin C ingredient they've discovered. Then they are going and checking brands, ratings, reviews. Then they could be the brands which they shortlist. They will go and check out their Instagram page, their websites. And all of this is happening in like a few minutes. And probably ChatGPT will shorten this entire journey even further. But all of this is happening very quickly. So the IDA model still remains, but the steps are probably all overlapping. We are also seeing action happen very, very fast. So like Aman was saying, today many of us are discovering many brands on Blinkit or a QCOM platform and making the entire purchase decision in a couple of minutes. In fact, they're tracking in seconds that, whether it's taking 15 seconds or 20 seconds. And all of us in this room have made some purchase where the brand was not known.
Right.
So these steps are now overlapping. And the way to kind of engage with the audience is slightly different, which is a lot more longer. And we need to be doing justice on each of these touch points. Whether it is Instagram, whether it is influencer, whether it is ratings and reviews. Because we don't know which touch point will appear where in the consumer's journey. And then obviously, availability becomes a big one with QCOM, because if you're not available, even if the consumer is interested, action will not happen.
Right, right. So Chirag, when you see from your vantage point over 10,000 brands, selling to all parts of India, so many different categories, if you could just talk to us about two things. One is, what price points do you see will become larger and bigger as we move into the next 5 years and so much of incremental consumption comes in? And the second is, are there any particular consumer cohorts that you are very excited about who will massively grow in the way they are consuming?
I'll give you a little bit of what we've seen. So 5 years back, India average order value used to be $10.
Right.
It's become 15 now. Interestingly, what you asked me, if you dissect that by tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, you'll be surprised that today, and he can corroborate later on, almost 70% of orders today, what we see, are from tier 2 plus cities. So it's not predominantly tier 1. It's, you can say that this is a myth that only branded shopping happens in tier 1. Right? Tier 2 plus is today contributing to 70% plus. And I've seen that across, these different AOV ranges, right from 1,000 to 2,000 up till 10,000 plus. And 10,000 plus is the fastest growing category in tier 2 plus also. It remains same if you, look at it from a category point of view. That if you look at it, electronics, beauty, fashion, all of them are heavily now tier 2 plus. Someone is 50, someone is 60%. But largely, the way to go about it is it's not about only capturing Mumbai. It's about capturing the Indore, the Surat, the Coimbatores of India. Right? That's where at least we are seeing the clear trend.
Right. Right. Thank you. I think Abhishek is next question on very similar lines. So when you service 2,500 cities, close to 15, 20,000 pin codes, just if you look back and then fast forward, where do you think most of this growth has come from in the last 2 years? And what do you think geographically and channel-wise, what the shape of the growth is likely to be over the next 5 years?
Yeah. No, I think other than what we've just heard, see, today, probably growth in India is coming everywhere. And I think Chirag is correct. Brands are seeing 60-70% of their volumes coming from tier 2 and beyond. And thanks to Instagram, thanks to various discretionary discovery methods that we have, that growth is coming in tier 2. And tier 2, obviously, you don't have access to similar kind of products. You don't have standardized inventory. You don't have quick commerce yet. So there is a lot of discovery part to it. If you think about the closest comparison to India's growth economy, maybe you can link it with China. In China, back in 2020, video commerce exploded. People started discovering all discretionary products through videos. I think that's a similar sort of a trend we are seeing today in tier 2, where a lot of that growth is actually not coming from the Facebook and the Googles of the world. It's coming through very, very different kind of marketing methods. And that is something we believe is going to explode over the next couple of years. Again, we can't talk anything about 5 years because 5 years we don't know whether it's AI who's placing an order, how big is agentic AI in 5 years. But I think the next couple of years, we are going to see tier 2, tier 3 growth being really, really exploded because of the penetration of some of these reels and Instagram and YouTube videos sort of concept that we are looking at. I think metros are very, very different right now. Metros are getting spoiled, or the customers are getting spoiled by the advent of quick commerce and fast delivery. I think in metros, it's very clear. Either you go on quick commerce or you talk about same day delivery. Anything beyond that, customers are like you're forcing a customer to place an order rather than them wanting to place an order, because customers are losing patience in some of the big cities. And wherever people are offering more speed-oriented solutions, where brands are offering more speed-oriented solutions, they are absolutely gaining market share.
Right. Thank you. Anurag, next question for you. So, we try and differentiate very sharply between Bharat, which is middle-class India, which could also be residing in metros and tier 1s, and tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3, which is small town India, but could also have affluent customers, right? So there is an overlap. But if we specifically talk about Bharat, which is middle class India, and all of us intuitively know that this is a big consuming cohort and even bigger going forward. But we also know that serving this demand is structurally more complex than serving affluent India, right? Because your price points might be lower, even trust dynamics might be different, geographies might be fragmented. So, from the success of Pilgrim, what can you tell us about what does it take to actually build a successful brand in these markets that can both scale and make money and be positive unit economics?
So it's not always that Bharat consumer may behave very differently. Sometimes pack sizes could be different, yes. But the fundamental offering remains the same. So we have seen in shampoos whether some channels, some places sachets will sell. At the same time, typically online and in modern trade, 1 liter pack sell a lot more. So pack sizes
Right.
could vary, but it's the same shampoo which the consumer is expecting, the same consumer experience the consumer is expecting. The fundamental thing which we have to be careful as brands is that the gross margins you are born with are the gross margins you die with. So if your unit economics are not stacking up on day one for any channel and in any part of the offering, that is not going to change at scale. Many a times there is, a belief that with scale we will solve this because economics will improve. Yes, economics improve, but it doesn't significantly move the needle. So if the channel design was not right on day one, it becomes a big challenge at scale because you have a bigger problem, the same problem magnified 10 times, 20 times. Certain business models are a little more conducive to some of these, pack sizes kind of environment where if you're in a B2B environment, so let's say if you're selling on Amazon, you're selling directly, selling a 200 rupee or 100 rupee product on Amazon directly is a lot more expensive than selling through RK. So these are the partnerships you have to figure out tactically. So one could be on the pricing front, one could be on the sizing front, one could be on the partnership business model front itself. And in combination, and then offline obviously plays a role at scale.
Right.
We decided to start our offline journey 3 years back. And it's been full of learning and insights, to put it very politely. It's not an easy journey. And we have made our mistakes, but I think offline is a big part of that reaching out to the Bharat consumer.
Right. So just following through on that, Abhishek, next question for you. When demand starts moving from concentrated urban pockets to distributed, I would say small town India pockets, right? For a logistics company like yours and for brands who work with you, what does this transition mean? And, what are some of the difficulties or the reality of this transition that people actually might be underestimating?
See, India is a very complex country. I think if you look at the metros, they are a lot more homogeneous in nature from a customer expectation standpoint. But as you start going into tier 2, tier 3, the regional variances become much more stark. There are a bunch of challenges people face. Fundamentally, customers, the expectation is the same. You want the product faster, as quickly as possible. You make a mistake, customers will scream on you. So I don't think that changes between metros or tier 2. But India, as a country, becomes really complex as we go into tier 2, tier 3 because the frauds disproportionately increase. Okay, delivering to a village in Bihar is very, very different to, let's say, delivering even in a place like Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh has significantly lower frauds. Bihar has many Jamtaras. Jamtara is like, we know one of that, but there's like many such places. So you'll send a product, the customer will get a stone, the customer will put a complaint. Then eventually you'll realize they do that like 10 times, and maybe like people like can actually help us solve that problem by having that data across customers and platforms. But fraud is a big problem in India. Right. Second is, India does not have a structured addressing technology. Okay, when customers are placing an order, think about yourself. If you are placing an order or your parents are placing an order, you might actually put that same address in very, very different ways. Okay, in India, every 5 years, as politicians come, they rename the roads. So different generations remember different names of that same road. One very funny thing we see in our addresses as you go into tier 2, tier 3, people actually don't write an address, they write a direction. They will write as if they are calling a relative back home. Come over here, take a right from that signal, my house is on the second left. That's literally the kind of addresses we get. So how do you, and then there is a problem of obviously cash on delivery. In India, right. It's not like you have got an order, it means necessarily there's a customer over there. It might very well be a fraud order. Right. Okay, somebody else might be placing for somebody else using a phone number. So I think some of these challenges become quite paramount for tier 2, tier 3 cities. So ensuring as a platform, how do you build your ecosystem? How do you integrate with the right set of partners, right set of logistics who have that kind of capability become the differentiation. You have 5% higher RTO as a D2C brand, your entire unit economics changes. versus somebody who's doing it better for you. So I think those are some of the nuanced problems that you start facing. Not that these problems don't exist in metros, but as you go down, I think these problems just amplify.
Right. I think from problems, we'll move to opportunities. So, Aman, this question's for you. So, you've built such a successful brand over the last decade. Looking forward, not even the next decade or not even the next 5 years, since you said 2 years, what do you think this next generation of very iconic Indian brands will look like?
Sir, I think, I think marketing days are over and product days are starting. There was a time when anybody used to say, I am, sulfate free, paraben free, and people used to buy it trusting the brand. But now there are so many influencers who say that your SPF is not the same,
Right.
and suddenly the brand goes down, right? There are people who are saying, I used to sell protein bars, and now people are saying your protein has more calories than proteins, right? And which we all know which brand it is, right? So every day there are brands which are now becoming, so that, I'm on Shark Tank, there are a lot of sharks which come. So all of them are not the same, right? There are some who fake it, some who are original. People, now Gen Zs are able to see who is fake and who is original, right?
Yep.
लोग दिखाते बहुत थे पहले ना हम लोगों का वे ऑफ लाइफ ऐसा था वी ऑल वर born in an era where we were accepting. We used to all say yes boss, and now the Gen Zs are saying why boss, right? They are not accepting people like that. They are saying, they are questioning the status quo, right? They are questioning what is happening. So I think there was a movement which is called Label Padega India, right? So
Yep.
which is actually true. Whether it's skincare, people got away by saying I am apple cider vinegar, I am this, but no longer, right? I think people are now wanting to see whether you really have what you are saying or you're just saying. Same way in food, people are saying ki, you used to say this, but you are not actually this. So people are calling out. So I think authenticity is back. Authenticity is what consumers want. And brands which are authentic in whether they are in the product or in the storytelling, they will survive. Even storytelling, now I cannot put a celebrity with a brand and say, I use this. And then they actually, I built boat selling celebrities using boat, but वो पीछे से Apple use कर रहे थे, right? सामने हम ad में boat दिखाते थे, पीछे तो Apple use कर रहे हैं. हमने बना ली कंपनी.
Right.
लेकिन अब कंज्यूमर को पता है ये हमारा, अब यार उस बोर्ड को लल्लू बना रहे हैं, right? They are making a fool of us. They are not using it. They are just showing it. So consumers are much smarter than what all of us sitting in this room think they are. But they are much smarter than all of us. And I feel you cannot make a fool of themselves. Second, I think premiumization. Like when we started, there was nothing called a D2C also. I always say D2C ki busse hoti thi. There was nothing called D2C in our world. But now there is a word called D2C which has emerged, and there were not many brands also. Now the same category has 1,000 brands, maybe 100 brands. Same category had one brand and people used to say ये चलेगा, but now you have specific. Pilgrim कहता है मैं ये करूँगा, तो Antinom कहता है मैं इसमें 10 चीज़ें डाल के एक ही साथ दे दूँगी, and then somebody else will say कि ये सब छोड़ो हम AM PM बना देंगे. I don't know. There are so many things happening in the same brand. Some are saying I'll do only 40 plus, some are saying I'll do Derma, some are saying I'll do Karma. I don't know what is happening, right? There's so many things. But the consumer has choice. Consumer has changed. Distribution has changed. It's no longer Amazon, Flipkart. It's now, even D2C websites were not D2C websites.
Right.
I am called a D2C brand. My whole sale is 3% in D2C website. There are not, now people are actually buying on D2C websites, which was not happening earlier. Right, so ये ShadowFax और ये भी तो अभी पैदा हुए हैं. GoKwik, cash on delivery हम लोग को problem होती थी. Now they are solving that. Right, 15-minute delivery is not no longer a quick commerce thing. It's become something which these guys are giving 15-minute delivery to brands like ours. So I think things are changing everywhere. Marketing, distribution, authenticity, premiumization, D2C being D2C. So many things emerging out of it. So I'm loving what is happening, and it's
exciting.
And I'm also, people feel I know a lot of things. I actually don't. I'm learning from people like you guys around who teach me what is the next consumer looking like.
Thank you. So Chirag, there are many narratives about Indian consumers, right? That they are price sensitive, they are not brand loyal, they are driven by discounts, right? All of this is narrative. You sit on data, right? So from the data that you see, can you please tell us what are some widely held beliefs, some good and some not so good, about Indian consumption that is actually not true at all?
I think there are many in terms of understanding the Indian consumer, as Aman was also saying, that it's a complicated beast to concept to understand an Indian consumer. But what we actually see on data is that the same consumer, when it comes down to categories which are very commoditized, they are very, very price sensitive. They will seek the best price, And the same consumer, when they're looking at, categories where they can show off, where they want to like be on Instagram or travel related categories, fashion related categories, beauty related categories, they are willing to trade that up and be very discerning in terms of their choices, very selective, not, discount sensitive. So we see actually, it's not a linear curve where consumer is traveling and saying, okay, I'll buy everything premium, right? So they are trading their opportunity. It's a little bit of a barbell strategy, wherein, all the commoditized categories are very, very value, whereas all the premium ones, they're very, very conscious in terms of why do they want to buy. That's one, I think, big change or the myth. I think the other one is from a consumer point is that typically it is said that, you get distribution, you get yourself on the shelf as a brand and then you're done, right? You'll win the race. I think some aspect of that was being discussed that actually today the, homepage is actually Instagram, right? I can tell you from a data perspective running the company, I think the number in the last 4 years which has changed significantly is traffic coming on website is directly on homepage has dropped by almost 50%, right? Which means that people are discovering your product, almost making the decision right on the feed and then coming to buy. So the decision making is happening actually on the feed. So if what is getting changed is even if you have distribution today, you might not have it tomorrow if you're not there on the feed. So you got to be there on the feed, whatever needs to be done to that. I think content creators are playing a great role today. Tomorrow it will become live commerce to say, we have seen multiple such examples of that India, from a consumer lens, India doesn't celebrate Black Friday or why India celebrates Black Friday, right? We all used to be wondered, and I don't have an answer that why India celebrates Black Friday, but I can tell you from all the data that it's become as big as, or it's the D2C equivalent of, Big Billion Day sale.
Wow.
Right, so now everyone is preparing for it. As a brand, one should prepare for it. But this is how, Indian consumer, as you also said, that is very complicated to understand, but is definitely inching up towards this opportunity of buying more brands, be very choosy, selective, and then trading down in terms of some of the value categories.
Cool. Thank you. So Anurag, picking up on Aman's point on all of us learning from each other. So what is one belief that you've had about building a consumer business in India that you were very convinced about earlier, but your own experience has actually proven you wrong?
So about brands, others, you've worked with Unilever. Many people in this room have worked with Unilever, and I interned with P&G 21 years back. We all learned that brands need to stand for one unique thing. While that continues to remain true, the brands are also showing the potential to be a lot more stretchable. And I'll explain this slightly better. So earlier, if a shampoo was a anti-dandruff shampoo brand or an anti-hair fall brand, that's all that brand could sell. The anti-dandruff shampoo brand was not able to sell a solution for hair fall or vice versa. Or the cream, because there were no serums earlier, cream which was selling you brightening, were not able to sell you anti-aging under the same brand. A separate brand had to be created. Today at Pilgrim, we are able to sell with equal ease solutions for hair growth, shampoos for anti-dandruff, and I'm telling you all the best sellers and the different categories they fall into. A glowing skin moisturizer and 2 of our serums which are in the top 5 of Amazon. Historically, this would have been very difficult because a brand stretching in so many different categories, all in the beauty domain, was very difficult.
Right.
And we have made a conscious choice of limiting ourselves to 5 subcategories, which is where we will play in a serious manner. If we had the appetite, like I have not spoken about face washes, it's not a focus category for us. The category is large. If we had decided, we can play in the face washes category also, the brand is allowing that, or the consumer is allowing the brand to do it.
Right.
It's the other way around. So this was a big mindset shift which has happened in my mind, that a brand in some space, if you stand for something slightly larger than just a functional benefit, like Pilgrim stands for international beauty ingredients and what they can do for you, the consumer is allowing us to serve various needs of the consumer versus being just one thing for one kind of consumers.
Right. So Abhishek, next question for you. We spoke a lot today about AI and how it is being integrated across, things like conversion funnels, demand forecasting for logistics companies, routing, fraud detection, on the front end, personalization. So from the ShadowFax vantage point, where have you seen AI, sort of genuinely impact unit economics positively? And where do you think it is still fairly cosmetic?
I think AI is still in a very early phase across the board. I think if you look at it, people are still discovering what can potentially happen. At ShadowFax, while we have built a lot of algorithms over the last couple of years using AI, machine learning, building this mapping system, fraud detection system, so all of that we have built over the last few years. I think today where we are seeing disproportionate benefit is how we work internally, just the internal efficiency. Today, for example, I mean, we have been able to ship code in 3x faster now. Okay, all our coders are actually writing on some platform and then basically putting it in production. They are not writing it themselves. All our analysts, all our strategy makers, they are actually writing their strategy on some of the other platforms. Gemini is a great platform. Cloud is a great platform. So people are writing all of that, and it's making things very, very fast. So like one of the key insights we have had is that any place where you need to make a decision, okay, the base level decision should come through AI, because the base level outcome that an AI is giving is far, far better than any strategy person can give in. So I think it's just changing the way we are working, but trust me, this is all just what has happened in the last 3 months.
Right.
As these products start maturing, I think there's going to be a serious crisis of why companies will need SaaS, why companies will need external consultants, why will you need a marketer to tell you how to sell your product online. Content creation is completely gone away. I mean, it's not manual at all now. It's all happening through AI. So the internal efficiency is something which is changing at an incredible pace. Companies which embrace this change, become more efficient, become more nimble, using AI are going to have a competitive advantage versus anybody else out there. So I think some of these things internally, the ways of working are going to change completely. On the customer side, I think there's a very funny thing I was discussing with one of the leading quick commerce companies. I think in the future, people are not going to order कि मेरे को इतना दाल चाहिए, इतना चावल चाहिए. People are going to say, I want a dal makhani. Okay, they're going to write a dal makhani. The ingredients are going to be decided by AI. The order is going to be placed itself. I mean, why should I know what is there in that product? Somebody should tell me how to make that product itself and accordingly decide what is the best product based on my health needs that I need to eat. So I think things are going to just change over the next few years. We are sitting at a very, very interesting time right now.
Right. So last question, and it's almost like a rapid fire, right? So we've all spoken about consumption opportunity. We've all spoken about AI. We've spoken about how things are just so much easier now to build businesses on. But if there is one line of advice that you want to give anybody building a business for the next 5 years, 10 years on what is the operating discipline that they need to maintain while building a business, what would that one line be? You can, anyone.
Nothing is constant. Everything changes every quarter. So don't make any long-term assumptions. Just go with the flow. Whatever is true might not be true next couple of years. So don't continue building thinking that something like this will happen 3 years down the line. You don't know. You can't predict.
Okay. Thank you.
From an operating discipline, I think I think numbers do tell a story. Don't fool yourself in terms of believing some other story. As he said, that gross margins, what you're born with, is what you die with. Not true for so much for tech companies, but mostly true for brand companies. So I think just being very, very glued to, okay, this is where I'm heading to, and then being true to it, reading the numbers rightly. Otherwise, we end up fooling ourselves into assuming that we have PMF or this is flying off the shelf. We've seen multiple examples of in brand companies do primary, secondary, and then tertiary. So some of those, I think, are numbers do tell you the right story. So stay true to it.
Thank you.
I think working continuously to make yourself redundant in the company by building a team around you which can do it for you, because new challenges will come up as the company grows. And that's been my pursuit for the last many years, and I'm still in that pursuit, that how do I make myself redundant. Now I've reached a stage where nobody misses me in the office. At least for 15 days, absolutely nobody misses me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I have made myself redundant that way. And I've moved on. Yeah, I think this operational discipline I don't have, so I can't guide people. I'm the most indisciplined guy. I do whatever I feel like doing. I also don't believe in data so much. That's me. I'm not saying you should not, because I believe in data and more than data. I do more things by intuition than insights. So that's how I have operated. If people had told me to, if I had looked at data, then everybody would have said don't start a electronic brand in India, right? But we just did it, and touch wood, God has been kind. So I don't believe in so many insights, and thankfully I had Sameer who could do that. So I don't want to give any operational discipline to people when I myself am so indisciplined in what I do.
Perfect. So I think we'll throw the floor open to questions. We have some time for Q&A, and we have mics going around in the room. So please do put up your hand, and there'll be a mic that will reach you. There's a question back there.
I can start here. Hi, my name is Harsh Chamria from Magma Ventures. Thank you all for such interesting insights today and spending time with us. My question was actually triggered by what Mr. Nirikani said in the previous session. So historically, consumer brands have optimized for discovery on Instagram, Amazon, Google and the like. In this new agentic world, as brands start getting discovered on AI platforms, how does life change? How do we avoid commoditization, and how do we optimize for this new AI world?
I'll start, and then probably these guys can. I don't agree to what he said, because I think people will have different ways where they'll discover. Yes, AI is an additional way of discovering. I don't think people will stop going to Instagram. I don't think people will stop going to markets. I don't think people will stop doing other things which they are used to doing. AI is an additional layer of discovery. People said when that GT will be dead and OT will be dead, and retailers will die and everything will be app based and everything will happen like this, but it didn't happen, right? People are still buying online and offline. Pilgrim, as they said, is growing mostly offline. So offline is still now just the difference is people don't call it offline, they call it omni-channel. Earlier it was called offline and online play. That's the only difference. But I don't think people will change their habits so fast. So you should be ready for AI and build. There are companies who approached us and said कि आप हमें 50 लाख रुपए दे दो, हम आपके AI में ऊपर ले आएंगे, आपका ChatGPT से कोई हेडफोन पूछेगा तो आपका आ जाएगा. So there are companies are also now discovering how to get your products better rated on AI. So that is also becoming a. पहले review चैनल होते थे, अब लोग बोलते हैं 10 लाख रुपए दे दो, आपके 4 स्टार को 4.8 कर देंगे. So that also is happening, which is also used by competitors who are giving 10 lakh ki 4 ka iska 3 kar de. So things are evolving even on AI, even on reviews, even on platforms. So I don't agree. But that's my take.
I think I'll add to it that life at most point is grey. It's not, we have seen it in the past also. Website commerce will die. Everyone will shop on mobile apps. We continue to see website also thriving, mobile apps also thriving. We have seen this multiple times. I'll give you a stat that today, after a lot of this value marketing around AI, and I'm by the way a believer of AI, the trend is very positive. Just from a website commerce point of view, today 0.5% of traffic is originated from all AI channels combined. Right, so that's the state we are at. I think it's going to take a lot of time. I think if I am a brand, I'll be very watchful in terms of, okay, there is a lot of excitement, there is probably a new opportunity, but is my opportunity tapped out on other channels? And then I start to focus here, because this is going to stay, right? So largely trend is secular, you're not losing out, and I don't think so earth is shattering in a day, and it's becoming 0-1. All channels will survive.
Hey, hi Aman, Rahul here from All Cargo Global Family Office. Wanted to know your take on how do you decide on categories which you enter into, or what you think are the interesting categories which look very promising to you for next 3-5 years. I think last year when we heard you were very vocal about watch as a category. So, any thoughts there?
यार क्यों जले पे नमक चढ़ा yeah, not only us, everybody thought watches will be the next big category. And we also bought companies out of Singapore thinking that, हम फोड़ देंगे और watch ने हमारी फोड़ दिया. So I think our company, we could have done much better if we were staying on audio and not getting into a category which was watches. But I don't regret it because अगर हमने नहीं किया होता और वो बड़ी हो जाती तो हमें और प्रॉब्लम होती, right? So we'll have to keep trying new things. ये नॉर्मल वे है लाइफ का. बहुत बारी ना हम सोचते हैं कि मैं अपनी बात बताता हूँ कि मैं आई वाज स्टार्टिंग समथिंग which I thought I will start and I didn't start, and then somebody else did it and I regretted it a lot of time in my life that I should not start that. And that's a big problem of people who are doing jobs also, because they think that the next big thing is happening here, and when they don't do it somebody else does it, right? I don't think it's all about ideas anymore, right? I'm not the first headphone company. There were 200 headphone companies before me. Lenskart was not the first chashme ki dukaan. There were like many chashme ki dukans. It's just they did it differently, right? Grow was not the first stock broker. They also probably copied a Zerodha, and Zerodha copied a US company, Nightingale, क्या नाम है उसका, Robin Hood, right? So I think Amazon, Flipkart खुद Amazon देख के कुछ inspire हुआ. आप थे ना Flipkart में? हाँ, Flipkart Amazon को देख के. So I don't think Wireside was the first VC fund, but they think differently, and today it's the best consumer fund. So I personally feel you have to keep trying, man. There are two types of people, one who are critics and one who are doers, right? So I like to be the guy who's playing the cricket match. Sometimes I might fall on zero and sometimes I make history, right? I might be the next big thing. So that's the type of person I am. And it's always good to have people around me who are critics, because it's always the best to prove them wrong, and that's how I operate.
Cool. So if you have, here, we have a question from the center of the room.
Hi, my name is Max. Thank you so much for being here. Very interesting. You just said earlier we can't look ahead more than 2 years, but in the morning we had the discussion about us all in the room. We would be proud to see 10 years from now India kind of building for the world, Indian consumer companies going out there. So at what point will we start thinking about that if we can't look ahead further than 2 years? Like, do you see yourselves approaching the global markets anytime soon?
I think, yeah.
Good to go.
While, see, again, the aspiration has to be global, it has to be much more long-term, no denying on that. I think in India, what channels will work, the operating strategy, there's no point going too long-term on a single channel, single strategy, because in India, if you see every 3 years, the channel changes. Look at like what has happened in India over the last 12 years. First, e-commerce came in, okay? Then there was this entire thing around omni-channel, Swiggy, Zomato brought in. Then came the whole element around social commerce. Then last 3 years back is quick commerce. So in India, every 3 years, the way customers are ordering, the way customers are going to basically shop online or offline is like fundamentally changing. So there is no single assumption that goes in terms of like this is what basically takes up the entire market in this country. Like in US, you had Amazon taking up about 75-80% of the market at one point. In China, you had a Pinduoduo or a similar sort of a model taking a majority of a market in terms of number of transactions and getting users from offline to online. So in India, there's no single channel, and that's what one should think about. I think in terms of brand, in terms of aspiration, if you continue being agile, if you continue creating different sort of opportunities, you will definitely build a massive brand over the next decade, because the opportunity lies over here. In India, India is going from a phase where everything was unbranded probably a decade back. Today, a lot of things are branded, and I think that aspiration is always going up for people, like at least what we can see through data. While we understand that the tier 2, tier 3, the average order values are lower, the interesting thing is that every time a new platform goes into a tier 2, tier 3, their average order value is actually higher. As they go deeper and bring more customers online, that's when the average order value actually goes down. So I think that different kind of customers, different kind of people existing everywhere across the length and breadth of the country. In a country like India, people are just getting more and more aspirational. When we were growing up in this country, we never bought rice or atta which was branded. today you have not just atta which is branded, you have various segments within that. This is more fiber oriented, this is more protein oriented atta, and there are brands coming up within those sub-segments. India, if you look at it, if you're building a brand, I think it's a great place to be, because this transition is going to continue over the next probably 5 to 10 years very, very easily.
I think we have time for one last question. Yes.
Hello, I'm Abhishek. My question is for you, Aman. Like when you launched 10 years ago, this was like a very competitive landscape in the earphone category. So any non-obvious strategies or tactic you would like to share which helped you penetrate the market? Any hacks you used, maybe?
Sorry.
You made friends with Flipkart.
Yeah, I had friends at Flipkart. He wants me to say that. यार मेरे को नहीं लगता. I don't think there is less competition today. I think competition was there that time also, and competition is there today also. If that was the thing, then there's a company called Minimalist which started 5 years back and was sold for 3,000 crores. It is in the same category where others are playing, right? And there are like your companies which are also starting. There's so many companies you guys are doing and which will be bought in the next 2 years. So I don't think competition was less last time when I started, and competition is less this time when I am starting. I think we are all used to competition, right? And competition हमारे, again, वो बोलता है 3 Idiots देखिए आपने पिक्चर, उसमें बोलता है हम लोग जब पैदा हो रहे थे तो स्पर्म से भी कंपटीशन करते हैं कि हमें पैदा होना है, राइट? सो वी आर लिविंग इन अ वेरी कॉम्पिटिटिव कंट्री, राइट? बट इफ यू मैनेज, टू आंसर योर क्वेश्चन ऑल्सो सर, दैट वी डोंट, आवर कंज्यूमर बेस इज सो हाई दैट if I only sell in India as boat. I don't sell outside India till now, and I'm third largest audio brand all over the world. I don't need to go to any other country to sell, right? I'm still third largest in the world. I'm bigger than JBL, Sennheiser, Bose, Audio-Technica, and all these brands which are better known brands, but I'm bigger than all of them. I'm just after Samsung and Apple, right? And that's just also because they've got a good attach ratio. But so you don't need to sell outside India if you know how to sell in India. You itself have got so many consumers, and our population is increasing every year. We don't live with, there are so many families. Like I also have 2 kids. I want to have 5 more, but my wife is not allowing. But we are used to having many children. That's our way of life, and we will have more population, more consumers, which we will keep bringing to our country, and our country is still emerging, right? I'll tell you about brands. I always tell that what is Starbucks? It's just a coffee ki dukaan, coffee chain, coffee shop. We have so many coffee shops in our country. The difference was we didn't have aspiration to go global. There is something called Baniye ki dukaan where we go and buy staples. It's called Baniye ki dukaan. And the same thing is Walmart. It is just a staples shop, but it had aspirations to be global. Now, the new India is very different. And I mean, these 25-year-old guys, they are not building for India anymore. They are building for the world. And that's what the new India is, that we are ready to build brands which are global from day one. And that's, I think, it's a common theme which is starting there. So competition mein, sir, there is nothing which stops me from entering, if I still want to enter a BPC category, if you want to enter, do that. There is a lot of space, and you build a big company, they will buy you also, because all these big companies are looking for small companies. If you want to start an underwear company, Underneath did it very well. They just named it Shapewear rather than Underneath, right? And they're doing 150 crores. And I want to start another shapewear company also. I might, right? So you never know, right? If don't think that you can't, there is anything which is built in India. There are still so many things which are still pending. India में brands है ही नहीं. India में आज brands है ही नहीं भाई. सच बता रहा हूँ. अब तुझे लग रहा होगा brands है. India में brand नहीं है. India में maybe there are 10 brands in one category. China has 100. US has 1,000 brands in the same category. So start anything is what I would say as a founder to a founder. There is opportunity. There is execution, and except headphones for now, start in any category.
And smartwatches.
Smartwatches, do it if you want to. We also don't like that category too much. That was it.
Cool. So that brings us to the end of this panel discussion. Abhishek, Chirag, Anurag, Aman, thank you very, very much for all your insights, all your advice, all your tips. Thank you very much. Thank you.